My calculations, Joe Biden needed to win by 276. He needed a 12-point spread just to beat a possible electoral college rebellion that could happen on December 14th. I'll still be watching. I'm going to pay attention to December 14th. And I do want some electoral college deflectors, some faithful deflectors. I hope that we'll see a 1960 or an 1832, an 1828, or an 1872 happen again. So we've had 7, last 2016, we had 11 faithful deflectors. In 1828, we had 7 faithful deflectors. In 1832, we had 30 faithful deflectors. 30 would change the game, right? All you have to do is drop it below 270. He's got 290 now, so if you could get 21 of the people that's supposed to vote for Joe to deflect, then you could deprive the election from Joe. It'll go to the House contingent election, and then the House of Representatives will make a decision between the top 3 candidates. So that's, that would be a civics lesson for America. You love America so goddamn much, huh? Love it or leave it. You haven't even read your own fucking Constitution, you stupid fuckers. Anyways, in 1872, Horace Greeley is going to die. This is substantial because you got 63 people that faithfully deflected, and they faithfully to the Constitution, right, faithfully deflected because Horace Greeley had died. So 1872, he dies, and before they meet in December, 3 electors had voted for Horace Greeley. Those 3 electors, their votes are going to be invalidated by Congress. So those who kept their pledge was invalidated. That's the opposite of today's 2020 Garofalo decision. Amy Barrett's originalism will actually be a heavy dose of truth for today's Supreme Court. So the Garofalo decision, or whatever that was, that bullshit Plessy versus Ferguson decision of the Supreme Court, unanimously were 100% wrong, because they're sitting there saying that if the Supreme Court decision about the Electoral College was applied to Horace Greeley in 1872, that would force all those electors to vote for a dead man. You'd have to pull the man up and do a Weekend at Bernie's kind of, just throw Horace Greeley, the dead carcass of Horace Greeley, into the Oval Office, right? So 1872, you had 63 who faithfully deflected. If that happens, December 14th, all you need is 21. So that's only happened 2 times, so I feel like it's pretty rare. And then this one time that there was 63, the man died, right? So, if that doesn't happen, then you just take the mean of 7, 30, 15, 11. It's about 16, 17. That beats the 21 threshold. So, yeah, I predict that Joe will win, but it's a projection. It's a guess, right? It's an educated guess. That's all everybody in the media is doing. So you may be the first of many things, but don't ever be the last. Kamala Harris. Live your life right so the entire globe doesn't rejoice and dance in the streets when you lose your job. The Electoral College is the way to go for all the independent candidates, but also for the Democrats too, because the runoff election goes to the House, and if the Democrats are the majority in the House, then you would probably assume that the Democrats going to get elected unless the third person is just absolute, golden god, a super duper golden god, and then the Democrat candidate is absolute dog shit. So it'd be good for the independents to take it to the Electoral College. It's good for the Democrats if they're running the House, because most likely they would go. So, okay, right now, where do we go as a nation? Where are we at as a nation, and then where do we want to go? So when it comes to the problems of America, there's a shit ton of problems. There's police brutality, there's, overpopulated prisons, there's poverty, there's homelessness, there's forever wars. We got 27 forever wars. We got forever poverty, forever homelessness. UBI, land reform, that would take care of that. Or I would, substitute universal health care, education, and child care. To a lesser extent, marijuana, the war on drugs, that would help with police brutality. And, the drugs, it's more of a mental health, more of a, it's not a crime, it's a, send them to clinic kind of thing, but not a, Colorado fixed the marijuana issue, so I don't really care for any of the other drugs out there. So I'm like, maybe the cops are good now that, okay, so 15 freedom states. We got 15 freedom states. There's at least 14 other states in America that I can relate to that I wouldn't mind moving, me and my wife and children and family to. But that's it, right? I'm not going to go to the damn slave states. Are you kidding me? So there's also, we got to fix our democracy. I think, check out the Electoral College, but the instant runoff voting. We need to institute instant runoff voting. and then COVID, the vaccines, the testing, all that type of shit. So that's those are some of the main problems I want to just kind of list, just to get a general sense of what it is that we, that we're going to get. Is just fucking Joe Biden, who I believe is a moderate Republican, is he going to fix our problems, right? He reached out to the Trumpers, right, the old Chumpers. Oh, yeah, the chump, fucking 45, sayonara, motherfucker. Na, 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 na. Another one bites. So the Chumpers, more so than the progressives. Joe doesn't reach out to the progressives. The Democrats hate their fucking base. He's reaching out. He's a conservative. I think Joe is more in his own heart a conservative than he is a progressive. Maybe he slightly leans progressive. But he's talking about doing something with COVID. So everybody's going to get tested, right? Well, actually, I think that would be a great thing. We get some real numbers. A heavy dose of truth is needed to get past this post-truth era, this American fascism, this 4-year Reich, this 4-year nightmare is finally over. So the stimulus checks, I think that's going to help the economy. Homeless shelters, you got 500,000 homeless, just getting that taken care of. Joe, he also did the crime bill, so maybe helping out with the prisons. When I think about the disease, the homeless are just, vulnerable and spreading it everywhere. The prisoners, all this is terrible. We want to make sure everybody has universal health care with the public option. That would actually get everybody covered. So if everybody gets some coverage, everybody could go to the hospital and therefore get it taken care of. And it should be, being healthy should be an American thing. We all should. That should be a human thing, right? So I think we need to have this discussion. What can Joe do, right? I'm a Bernie bro, so, the first 100 days of a Joe Biden administration, he needs to undo a lot of the shit that Donald has done, get back into the Iran agreement, get back into the World Health Organization, the Paris Accord, where we said we was going to, lower our emissions and shit. So those things, I think, those are already, done deals, so just jump back into them. I hope he doesn't get back into TPP. Donald was right about a few issues, and that's important. It would have been a terrible, just compare and contrast. I think Joe is the lesser of the two evils, and I'll talk a little bit about what could have happened with the Donald presidency, just to compare and contrast. But this is a gut punch check for Joe Biden and his record. How neoliberal is he? How conservative is he? Does he have any real progressive policies? Is there anything that he promised that nothing fundamentally is going to change? He's a moderate Republican. Obama ran the nation as a moderate Republican. This is his own words. If you ask Barack Obama how he ran the country, he would say as a moderate Republican. Obamacare, that is actually Romney care. It's Nixon. It's a lot of these right-wingers, Bob Dole. So there's a lot of right-wingers that had went to write the damn thing. So it was a right-wing Republican. Even the health care was a Republican thing. So I am a Bernie bro. Perhaps he's just a moderate Republican compared to me. So, let's kind of take a look at all his positions. So let's see. I want to make sure. Police reform, end the war on drugs, poverty, war and war spending, get a U.S. dollar, Bitcoin. Let's just go with police reform. Let's go with poverty, and let's go with ending the war, war spending, something like that. Those are the top 3 issues. Let's see if Joe does anything for any of these issues. He's not going to end the war on drugs. He's barely going to possibly legalize marijuana. But police reform, he's Mr. Crime Bill. He says law and order and justice. Why would we say justice? What the hell is this justice? What does justice even mean? So, yeah, Joe is a right-wing fascist authoritarian warmonger. He voted for the Iraq War. He pushed for the Iraq War. Obama, right, was a moderate Republican, and he barely delivered. So, there was some things that Obama had done for me, and it, really helped me out, but it was like, in terms of his entire legacy, he's drone, striking and getting into more wars, more shadow wars. And what needs to happen is we need Joe Biden to actually deliver this time. If he doesn't deliver, we're going to get something way, way worse than Trump, or he's going to return, right? Maybe we'll get Ivanka or, Kushner. I don't know. Joe's biggest roadblock, I think, is really his own brain, his own mind, his record, his ideology. He should just shut the fuck up, turn his brain off, and just do whatever the hell Bernie Sanders tells him to do. Bernie Sanders is going to be the dream that, will never die for my generation, which is terrible. Bernie is Moses. He never got to the promised land, and yet he's going to inspire the entire nation, at least half the nation to think that socialism might, not be that bad of an idea. So Joe Biden's record. Joe Biden is nothing is going to fundamentally change. He promised his donors nothing is going to fundamentally change. So he fans the flames of the war on drugs. He went in and passed the crime bill. The crime bill points out that he's a fascist. He supports Nixon's law and order, but that doesn't, understand. He says, what does that justice thing mean? What does that mean, Joe, to you? Because to me it sounds like he's saying Nixon's law and order makes sense, but justice is a bunch of horse shit. So the evil government machine doesn't have justice. MLK says in order to have peace, we must have justice. So when it comes to getting another crime bill, maybe he could update it, a police reform bill, a war on poverty bill, a peace bill, an immigration bill, homeland security, democracy bill, a health care bill, farm bill, people's income bill, land reform bill, just any of these bills, right? I feel like we should pass these bills like every year. An effective Congress would pass these bills every single year if they could, always updating and always improving. So the Iraq war, so 2 wars to 7. Obama got us, we had 2 wars and then 7. You have Joe Biden, who doesn't give a shit about Chelsea Manning, doesn't give a shit about Edward Snowden. So whistleblowers, Obama prosecuted whistleblowers, drone striked everything, invaded Libya, invaded Yemen. There's a Yemeni genocide that, Trump went ahead and maintained. Opened up the Arctic drilling, kicked 5.1 million Americans out of their homes. Loves banks. He made sure the banks were bigger. He built cages that the children are sitting in. He was for welfare reform. He's for cutting Social Security. He's not for, universal health care, Medicare for all, but like some sort of private/public thing. He wants no war on poverty. He does love fracking. He started his campaign with Comcast Corporation executives. Is he pro-union? I'm not for sure. Is he anti-worker? I don't know. This is the way the Democrats had gambled on our lives and our future on this neoliberal is fucking ridiculous. Bernie already had the popular vote. He would have crushed Donald without any doubt, whatsoever. So maybe the marijuana right now, Montana, Arizona, New Jersey, they legalize weed. And Joe Biden was the 5th place finisher in the Democratic primary, but somehow was able to, call himself the winner, and then everybody believed it. So I want to make a quick note. I had predicted that Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, they were bluer than Mitch McConnell's hands, which is what Jimmy Kimmel, it's a Jimmy Kimmel joke, but it's also the truth. So compare and contrast Joe Biden, versus Donald Trump. Joe Biden is like a moderate Republican. There's some extreme shit there, right? Pro-fracking. Fracking causes earthquakes, right? And then he started the campaign with Comcast Corporate. So he's going to be a corporatist. He's going to be an imperialist. And then his crime bill feels very racist. And he was, against busing, so he was against integration. He was best friends with a bunch of segregationists, a bunch of, Ku Kluxers of, the ones that were getting elected into the goddamn Congress. So, is Joe really even better than Donald? Yeah, it's better to kick out the fucking guy and then put a new guy in. So we might have to probably just kick Joe right out, as soon as he gets in there. So impeach Joe if he tries to start any wars. But Donald didn't, he fucked over Lebanon, he fucked over Iran, Venezuela, they shut the grid down and a bunch of other shit. They were, just a destabilization effort. That's fucking shit, that's warfare kind of shit, isn't it? So if Venezuela and America, went at it over what Donald was talking about, there's no fucking way that I would be on the wrong side of history. We're meddling in Venezuela like it's our country, like it's, Texas or something. It's like it's not a sovereign nation, like the Western Hemisphere is just ours, like the Monroe Doctrine is still in effect. We need to respect other nations and their sovereignty, and to meddle in their, personal affairs. We can influence them. We could try to cut funding and this and that or what have you. But to say, because we don't agree with the socialism, we're going to invade your nation. Donald Trump had killed Soleimani, overthrowing Venezuela, Syria, right? He tried to get out of Syria, but he stayed the whole time. Stayed in Iraq, which he actually eloquently slammed the Bushes on. So bombing Syria, bombing all the same countries, all the shadow wars, 20 shadow wars, and then the empires at 200. We're in all the countries of the world essentially. So all the nations without nukes, we could just watch out for us, because this move, killing Soleimani, was aiming for total empire. Total empire. That's what the Bush administration, that's what his papa, both Papa and Baby Bush wanted total empire, and so I think even Clinton, and I'm not sure if Obama wanted total empire, but he maintained the empire just like Donald did. And so, yeah, if Donald would have been reelected, then fascism would have been doubled down. Then it would have been even worse for everybody all over the place, everywhere. So fascists are just a bunch of fucking bullies. Right or wrong, they're just the goddamn bullies who just want to push everybody around, but they're a bunch of cunts. They're a bunch of soulless assholes. They get a pleasure out of being sadistic to others. You convince others, and if you can't convince them, then shut the fuck up and get the fuck out of here. So he was pro-Iraq war, right? Even though his rhetoric was right, his policy turned out to be wrong. He was right on North Korea. He should be given a Nobel Peace Prize for his work on North Korea. He didn't. He got us out of TPP, which was an Obama thing. So Joe might get us right back into that stupid ass thing. So he might get us back into that TPP bullshit. And so Donald, it's just way worse. It's just obviously just way fucking worse. Basically, Donald emboldened all the right-wing terrorists and, police uniforms and soldier uniforms all over the world to act with impunity. And to even soldiers that were like, that killed other soldiers and shit. Other soldiers had said this soldier was bad. Donald went ahead and sided with the bad soldier because no soldier is bad. That's fucking bullshit. Without justice, but, Joe doesn't understand justice. So I don't have much hope for a Joe Biden administration at all. That son of a bitch did it barely. If anything, by having it such a close election, the fact that it was such a close election that does validate that fuck the centrism, fuck the Democrat centrism bullshit. Look how closely, the worst fucking president ever, and you almost fucked it up, Democrats. You almost fucked it up for everybody. Why? Because you want to pick a neoliberal and just bully everybody into submission? Because you want to make sure Wall Street and the big business and the imperialists, the war class, make sure the oligarchs and the plutocrats get their cake? Or make sure we get our cake, right? They're eating a bunch of, fancy ice creams and shit or what have you. So Joe's a fascist. Joe's a fascist because of the crime bill. He added 53 death penalty offenses. He was talking about basically we hang everybody for everything in this thing except for jaywalking. Joe wrote the damn thing. He was the architect of the current system. So the fact that we have so many people in prison is, all the criticisms that they say about Joe is totally true. He wrote the 1994 crime bill. We have more people in prison in America than in China. Joe we have Joe to thank for that. We're a prison penal colony, just like Georgia started out and Australia used to be. Now, Joe Biden bragged about siding with Nixon's law and order, but he didn't understand the phrase law and order and justice. What does that even mean? Justice means that, it's kind of eye for an eye, right? It's not vengeful, but the person hurts you, then you get restitution. You get, vindication. You get satisfaction. You get to hurt that person until, you feel good about everything. It's okay. Now we've brought some balance to the universe. It is neat that Joe Biden had the stutter, so the boy with the stutter beat the boy, the bully. So that's fantastic. Joe Biden is, the grandpa grew up in Sniff. Fucking creepy shit, weird creepy shit. The Biden family just seems to be him and his wife and his dog. And, Hunter now, I guess, after the election, we probably should have looked at Joe a lot more, his family and his connections and all that. But the fucking Republicans, just the same fucking attacks, just over and over. It's just, oh my God. So what? That means Joe is the architect of fascism in the federal government. He is a fascist because of the crime bill. Now, you might need a leftist fascist to stop a right-wing fascist. There was talk about a community policing in the crime bill. Joe Biden did gaffe. There's a couple weird gaffes. He was talking about how we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women, he messed up. It's just all men are created equal and they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is a kind of a complicated sentence. But he was just saying, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created, by the, the thing. And it was like, what? And then he was talking about there was another Biden. He's like, oh, that's the other Biden in the Senate. I don't know if he was making a joke or if he actually thought that there was another Biden that was running for Senate, or he was a senator, or he was a different, I don't know. And then the fact that he's Mr. Crime Bill, he's Mr. Fascist, authoritarian. Kamala the cop is already a fascist. He was throwing people in California in jail for truancy. What, your kid is a Huckleberry Finn? You're not allowed to be a Huckleberry Finn anymore in California, not with Kamala the cop. So, look here, fat, right? That he said that shit. Look here, fat. That's the other Biden. Hey, look here, fat. You know the thing. So Kamala the cop was throwing people in jail for truancy Crystal Ball said that the only thing that could stop Joe Biden is his record. So people actually would have talked about his record. And if Donald would have passed the stimulus at the very end, what the fuck, Donald? You fucked up big time there. If he would have passed the stimulus, he would have got, I mean, it was close. It was ridiculously close. The polls, again, were, wrong, were off. Donald gets to say he's like a formidable fighter now. But I guess Dems knew that if they just picked their guy, the, rich Dems, the, I guess, ruling class of the Dems, the oligarchs, the Democratic oligarchs, just knew that if they picked their guy and then just force America, because it was close with, Hillary actually won the popular vote, right? So all you had to do was just kind of tell everybody get in line no matter who they fucking picked. And Joe Biden isn't, I think his record is terrible, but he's kind of a likable guy, right? I don't know. But unless Joe Biden is total dog shit, then I feel like there's no way that, third party or something. So Biden supported NAFTA, supported TPP, whereas Donald renegotiated NAFTA. And Donald killed TPP. So Donald eased relations with North Korea. That's great, right? He killed TPP. That's fantastic. Renegotiated NAFTA. That's awesome. Biden's the one that supported NAFTA and TPP. So this, hopefully he keeps the new agreements up. And maybe all these, even the Iran nuclear deal, make all the agreements better. You don't have to just jump right back into the old agreements. Look at the old agreements. Look at the terms of it. And then, renegotiate and make it better. So, if anything, Donald Trump was a Molotov cocktail to the system that we needed. He was the, Scaramucci. He was the Scaramucci president. He came in, stirred the pot, and now, we just need for him to kind of just go back into his hole and never fucking come back out again. So he didn't start any new wars, though he tried. He carried on the forever wars, right? There's 27, so including the Iraq War. He hurt students with the bankruptcy bill. Students had debt foisted upon them. They couldn't get out of it with bankruptcy. You could get out of a lot of, other bills, but not, so I don't know. Joe's just, Joe was right about Antifa as an idea, not an organization. Joe vowed to have Black America's back, so that's good news. But the imperialism, the corporatism, the racism, a lot of this is just Joe, okay? So let's look at the things we can work on. What can we work on with the Joe Biden administration? Joe was right that Antifa is an idea, not an organization. So he understands that. So that kind of, he's not a fascist because Antifa's an idea. So if he's an anti-fascist, that's fantastic, right? He used to be, maybe 1990s Joe is different than 2020s Joe. Joe vowed to have Black America's back, so you actually got to help out Black America. I would tend to think what helps Black America would help white America too if it's passed in Congress. So I think those things are, we could work on something there. Crime is a bad thing. A new crime bill is needed, one that doesn't have so many death penalties and one that doesn't perpetuate the war on drugs. I would be okay with that. Then he would totally redeem himself, right? Because that seems to be the thing that I'm calling him a fascist on, even though he did say that thing about Antifa. So he recognizes that, but now that he's got power, now he's going to get, his fascist hat on. And then, like I said, leftist fascism defeats rightist fascism. So in some respects you need, they had welfare reform, they had crime bill. This is like, typically Republican shit, but since the Democrats are doing it, then it's like they could, kind of do whatever they wanted to do. So crime's a bad thing. I think a new crime bill, crime's bad, so I would be okay with the new crime bill. He had talked about funding for community police. Funding, apparently, for the crime bill for community patrols accounted for 7% of the fall in violent crime. So there was a fall in violent crime. They said that there's, lots of people in prison, and but right after the crime bill, there was a lot of black people that was arrested that had dropped. That number dropped. So there was a fall in violent crime. There was less arrest for black people right after the crime bill was passed. And but overall, it does seem like the overall trend has been to put more people into prison. So I think just redo it, right? Just redo it. Redo it. It's a different, political climate. In terms of the environment, in terms of global warming, climate change, Biden is actually going to acknowledge it, calls for clean energy, net zero carbon emissions by 2050, as well as carbon-free power sector by 2035, transition out of the oil industry, but now coal is pro-fracking. I guess natural gas and coal is going to stick around, but not oil. Oil and coal are, dirty. Carbon-free. Carbon, does that mean higher taxes on our cars, too, to make sure we have, a catalytic converter or whatever? So build on the Affordable Care Act. There's only 5% in America that's not covered. If you get the public option, like they talked about fucking before, that covers everybody. But don't, fuck around with it. Fucking get it done. God damn it, Joe, are you listening? Get the public option done. When you all fuck around with, universal health care like this, it makes it sound like you're not going to get it fucking done. So let's see, what else? Raising taxes on Americans that earn more than $400,000, doubling Pell Grants, helps students going to college, nearly tripling spending on low-income K-12 schools. It helps poor folks out. He's going to raise the minimum wage to $15. All right. It's not good politics, but it's good for humanity. And the whole thing, actually, the reason why we're like a technologically progressed society is because labor is expensive. It's better to get the robots to get the shit done. Right? And making community college free. So I think that's fantastic. There's some things there to work on, right? He's going to care about the school systems and the college students and the environment, and he's going to help, get out and make and do this and do that and get everybody, universal health care seems to be on its way, even though the private corporations are going to stick around, so that we're not going to have as much leverage with Joe against the private corporations as we would have with Bernie. So, there's some good things there. Free community college, I think it might be the only, that's the only thing I'm like, okay, free community college, all right, I can get, I can back that. What else? Kind of a like I say, he's a moderate Republican, and so, the World Health Organization returned to the Iran nuclear deal, returned to the Paris Accords. I mean, that's, I guess, good for the world and good for us, but I do want him to deliver. Immigration, I think Joe has to do immigration reform. That's a must post-Trump, post-Trump's 4-year Reich. And now that Trump is gone, I'm starting to feel nostalgic. I'm like, he did a couple progressive things. There was North Korea and the TPP, got out of he eased relations. What else did he do? But a lot of, liberals are disagreeing with that shit. So what does that mean? We're going to go back to warring with North Korea now? I would like to think that we could still be buddies with old fat fucking Rocket Man. What an insane 4 years. Holy crap. I think the world and America, the good people of America, just had one big collective sigh of relief. Like, that was white America's last gasp. I hope, if Biden don't deliver. So, buyback, they're talking about, when it comes to taking our guns. Buyback, I think it's fine, community college is free. So, I'm really fine with a lot of stuff, but it's just not, okay, let's go back to the 3 original things I talked about in the very beginning. Are we going to get rid of poverty? He hasn't made that, a linchpin in his platform. Are we going to get rid of the wars? He pushed the Iraq War. He was Mr. Iraq War, just like he was Mr. Crime Bill. This is like almost, so he's Iraq through and through. We just picked a fucking imperialist, a warmonger, a fascist, authoritarian warmonger who seems to be decent and nice enough. He quoted angels, "He will raise you up on eagle's wings," which was fantastic. So he's got empathy. I don't know. I guess it's a brand new day, it's a brand new era, and we'll see how this motherfucker does. But we know he's a moderate Republican. We know he's done lots of right-wing shit over and over again. And so I have very little hope that he'll actually deliver and get, what America needs done. But it's possible he could be pushed in the right direction. It's possible that America, both Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives, socialists and anarchists, all of us can get some good legislation out of him if he just, pragmatic and just kind of lets, I don't know. If we need we need strong leadership to get shit done. So what the fuck does he feel strongly about? Guns? He might do more about guns, but which I don't like as a, pro-Second Amendment Democrat. Anyways, that's my take on Joe Biden and his record. There's a little bit of hope. We got a smidgen. We got a skosh of hope. We got a skosh. Just a skosh. Not much more. All right. Peace.